Hello and welcome to Trade Talks Poland this wonderful morning, 8th of April. And Poland, one of us, our absolutely most important trading partners and really growing trading partner. My name is Jesper Örn. I'm responsible for international trade at West Sweden Chamber of Commerce. And I'm standing here with also my colleague, Martin Henningsson.
Also from the West Sweden Chamber of Commerce.
And we're extremely happy to have, we have a great speakers today, and everyone, of course, from Poland. And also we have a visit today here at our venue from KPMG Poland. Marcin, Jacob.
Hello.
Hello. You're very welcome, and soon we will hear more from your side.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Prepared a lot.
And now we will go ahead quickly. We will move fast. We have a lot to do today. And the agenda for the day, me and Martin, we will have a brief introduction. And then we will hear from our sisters and brothers at the Scandinavian Polish Chamber of Commerce. It's very important for us just to also show you our members, our broad network of chambers abroad, Swedish, Scandinavian chambers. And to all of you chambers in Sweden, of course, because it's the whole Sweden listening, and also I think we have some abroad. So Scandinavian Polish Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Marcena Salin, board member of the chamber and also MD of Handelsbanken, member of ours. And then Nordea, Poland, giving a brief success case and on their successful growth on the Polish market. We will then have, and that's Agnieszka Dzigelewska, and I'm sorry about the pronunciation, but KPMG Poland, we have Marcin, Jacob, and also their colleague Arkadiusz. And we will also soon show you a code from Mentimeter, so you will be able to have some questions during our traveling through some presentations. But also, Martin.
Today is an extra special occasion because Trade Talk has been extended with bonus content. After the first session of Trade Talk Poland finishes at 10:30, we will also be treated to a deep dive by KPMG Poland, who will talk especially about grants and incentives on the Polish market. So please stay on. Do not sign off after the break.
We can also mention just that KPMG colleagues here, they will stay during the day and also tomorrow. So if you would have any interest in individual meetings, that could be via Teams or here at the office, KPMG office as well, you just will give us a note after the meeting.
The Trade Talks is a series of webinars and sometimes seminars arranged by the Swedish Chambers of Commerce in cooperation with the Swedish Chambers International, where we together try to give an insight in latest happenings and trends and business models on markets of interest to Swedish and sometimes Nordic companies.
We have some problems with the animation there, but it's it's a collaboration between all our regional chambers and chambers abroad.
It's moving anyway.
See here. And just for you to know, it's a fantastic network, as mentioned, the Swedish Scandinavian chambers abroad. And as you see on this picture, you have everything from the great big Global Business Climate Survey every year. It's a collaboration between the Swedish Chambers abroad, Business Sweden, the embassies. This year it will be on over 40 markets, I think 42, where they have like a climate study with about 1,800 different Swedish subsidiaries. So check in on that and all those different activities from our chambers. So look at Swedish Chambers International, also on our West Sweden Chamber of Commerce webpage. You will have a link to all those chambers. Well, if you just, for example, would like a brief meeting, lunch meeting with a subsidiary within your sector in any market, just contact your local chamber. And very briefly on West Sweden Chamber of Commerce, as mentioned, Trade Talks, it's a collaboration between 11 regional chambers. Our chamber, we have about just over 3,000 members and about 85 employees. We work, you could say, within two pillars. We have the advocacy, lobbying, political issues, and then services. And important to mention also is that we have various initiatives within those challenges of yours, which would come to infrastructure, competence, talent attraction, exports, and so on, which you see on this picture. Export Center West, for example, is a collaboration between all the export promotional agencies. We have Mathivation, which is a great project where we learn students to learn other students' maths so they can become engineers one day. And we covered the whole region. And just also to mention, West Sweden Chamber of Commerce, or West Sweden would be the most important exporting region, would have the biggest port in Scandinavia. Also, we have a wide range of sectors. Also have problems there with the animation, I see. But in Gothenburg, we have everything from the automotive sector, life sciences. We have the gaming industry, of course, creative industry, broad range in the Borås region. We have textiles, technical textiles, e-commerce, up to the Skövde region. Would have the food industry, agriculture equipment, also automotive industry, of course. Going to the coast, would have a lot of engineering companies and the aerospace sector, just like in Gothenburg. So that's a brief overview. Sorry about the animation again. And then Martin,
yes,
about our services.
Wherever you are in the world, please, you're welcome to see Chamber of Commerce as your local contact point for business and regional and national and global. The offer from the Chamber of Commerce, wherever you are, should be structured around providing you with business information, access to contact points throughout the world when you are developing your international trade. This could be done in the form of seminars, training, business academies, export programs, calling us to ask questions, and not least meeting other companies and benchmarking with them how they are developing their international business. So always feel welcome to contact your Chamber of Commerce. And again, just to repeat, these are the upcoming trade talks over the year. We will see a schedule in a few seconds of upcoming events about, for example, the UK, Japan, Southeast Asia, and Germany, and more planned as we speak. Please make a note of these dates. Sign up for the ongoing series if you're interested. You're most welcome.
Yes, at your regional chamber. And just before we start, we will just take your pulse, as we say. So if you just grab your mobile and you check into menti.com, we will get some information for our dear speakers, so they will quickly change their presentations according to your information. So it's, you just scan this QR code, or you put in this number, 18040056, and Robert, our technician, I think we can go over to the Menti screen. Yes. So you now have first question. Does your company have business within Poland? We see. What do we see, Martin?
Very exciting things happening on the screen.
So we have, actually we have quite a few ongoing, which would have, and a few times per year, own company in Poland. We have at least, well, 3, it's growing. I think it just give it a bit of time for people to check in. But I think the staple is, I mean, it's ongoing, and it's quite a few with their own company in Poland.
Absolutely. Business in the majority.
Yes, and we go ahead. Do you have plans to invest in Poland? And we would have already did so in the process this year, the coming 3 years, or no? Yeah, no, the coming 3 years is coming up. I think we have a bit, maybe a lagging on the answers. Looking at KPMG here, we have in the process. I think you are interested in that one. Already did so.
So
no.
Roughly 50-50 there.
Yeah, the coming 3 years.
More than half of the respondees have investment plans.
Yeah. So what's your main interest in Poland? Just free answer. We'll move quickly here. Yeah. Putting in a word. Just 2 questions after this. See if we have any. Underground mining. Cell. We have to have patience.
IT consultants.
IT consultants, that's not a shock. We heard that for quite many years. Production. Finding distributor. Well, it's a wide range. Justin, we will hear about all this, I think, both from production, selling, finding distributor.
Market growth, trade to Ukraine.
Yeah, recycled plastic. Good, very good.
An interesting spread.
Trade to Ukraine, of course. It has also been mentioned by KPMG before this meeting. Just 2 more questions. Have you participated in any M&A process? Very much for the KPMG presentation. No. See here. Yes, selling. See here, no. Some more patience. We'll see if anything is coming in. Yeah. The majority wouldn't have. Okay. So, final question. Have you ever utilized any public aid? That's in general, because we will have this in the deep dive. So grants, incentives, and so on. The staples are just the same for yes and no. So once again, we will have a deep dive after the first session with grants and incentives. Then, just to mention, you could keep your Menti up, and you will be able to put in questions there during all the presentations, and we could raise those in the end of the first session. So if you would have any questions, put them here, and we could raise them directly with our speakers.
And please note, there will also be an extra Q&A session for the deep dive.
Yes. So, Robert, we will go over to the presentation. Yes, we have that picture. And for our first speaker, sisters and brothers, in this case sister, Scandinavian Polish Chamber of Commerce, giving us a snapshot on the Nordic investors on the Polish market. And it's Ms. Marcena Salin from the Scandinavian Polish Chamber of Commerce, and also then MD at Handelsbanken. Marcena, the digital stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, good morning, or maybe I should say good morning and keep calm, eller höjs i magen, considering what is happening on the stock exchanges in the recent days. But knowing Scandinavian investors, we are really good at keeping calm and focused. So I'm convinced you will, or we will all do well. Today I have a pleasure of presenting the Scandinavian Chamber of Commerce in Poland. I will give you a summary of our focus areas. It's a chamber with a long history in Poland, and I will give you some information about the main activities of the chamber. The second part of my presentation will be focused on the Nordic investments based on the report the chamber has prepared last year. These reports have been prepared together with the Nordic embassies and with the data, economic data provided by the Polish Stockens industry, called in Poland Puls Biznesu. So we can take the next slide.
See here.
If you could
Yeah,
change.
here.
Yes, thank you. So we are one of the largest chambers in Poland. In fact, we are the third largest chamber with over 400 members, a result of the work of last 20 years. We have 4 national sections with plenty of native speakers, some of them who are new, some of them who just stayed in Poland, having this as a second as a second country to live in. It is a non-profit organization. The main goal is, as other chambers, supporting development of economic relationships between Poland and Scandinavia. We have an ambition to create the value to our members through the access to knowledge and information about Poland. We do this in the different ways. We offer networking opportunities, wide range of business meetings. We are active in promoting the dialogue between the Scandinavian companies and the Polish authorities. Among others, we organized a meeting with relevant ministries. We see that there is a demand on the side of our members. Just during the last couple of months, we have been hosting the Ministry of the Industry, for instance, and in May we will be having a larger event where we will be hosting a Polish Ministry of Energy, as well as other energy ministers, representatives from the Scandinavian countries. So it is going to be an interesting event. We, as a chamber, we are not only active in Warsaw, but other large Polish cities where we organize events. Every year we have around 100 meetings, different forums, places. We also arrange specific conferences with the main players on the market, giving a chance of everyone in the value chain, the companies in the value chain from the specific sector to participate. I think we can take the next slide. Yes. So what do we do? I like very much these big questions: who we are, what do we do? We just a brief look into last year. We have published 4 reports giving an overview of Scandinavian investments in Poland and showing their impact on the Polish economy. We have 1 report on Scandinavia, 3 other separate reports covering Swedish investments, Norwegian investments with their role in the green transformation and reliable energy supplies. We have a report on the Danish investments as well, with the focus area on modern technologies, decarbonization. These are the same hot topics as you discuss in Scandinavia. I will not repeat about the events because you can read it. I can just mention that we have been organizing last year a Nordic Excellence Contest with the awards for our member companies in several categories, cooperating with Dagens Industri as well, and choosing investors in which are excellent examples in different industry segments. We have granted the prizes for the excellence in green transformation, ESG, leadership, innovation. So these are these areas of interest for us and appreciated by the member companies. We can take the next slide for very shortly. If you are interested in more information about our members and the chamber's activities, I recommend to look through the 2024 SPCC annual reports, and you will see our focus areas, which is ESG, circular economy, decarbonization, economic overviews, etc. We also cover the hot topics, like everyone, which is the AI influence on the business, as this is a new thing coming. You see in the right corner you have a QR code if you would like to download this now. And we go through to the next slide, which is the most interesting part, I think, from my side, just to give you some couple of main conclusions from the SPCC report on the Scandinavian investments. It is not surprising for you. Scandinavian countries are among the leading investors, and in Poland, one of the most important trading partners. The total value of Scandinavian countries of investments yearly, it's around 15 billion euros. This, if we look into the last years, and that is making Scandinavians being the 3rd largest investor after France and Germany. Scandinavian companies employ around 200,000 people in Poland, so it's a lot. If we look into the exports to Sweden, that is on the level of almost 9 billion euros, and the imports on the 6 billion euros. The Scandinavians are good in keeping the investments long term. Of course, that is also related to the potential of the Polish market. According to the survey data made last year, 68% of the companies plan to increase investments during coming 5 years. 61% had a plan to increase employment in 2025. We'll see how it goes, considering all of the turbulences. Also, about the economy of Poland, it is a resilient and fast-growing economy. An interesting figure is that if you look into the last 5 years, and just to give you some comparison, Polish economy grew by 24%, while Swedish economy grew by 11%. European Union average 10%, and I'm not even mentioning Germany having their problems and recession. They grew about 2.6%, but as you have heard, they have a really huge plan now, and that will be for sure Germany coming out of the recession. This will be another impulse for the Polish economy, which is positive. The Scandinavian companies, when we look into the GDP, Poland's GDP, they account for 1.3% of it, which is a large number. It is also a growing segment of the Polish economy. The development of supply chains related to Scandinavian businesses and export to Scandinavia is growing, and this is around 350,000 employees at the moment. So that would be about the dimensions of economic relations between Poland and Nordic countries. If we could take the next slide, please. If there is something I would like you to remember, just a snapshot from what I just said, it is just 3 figures. The investment in Poland yearly around 15 billion euro. Nordic countries are the 3rd largest investor in Poland, so you will have a chance to meet plenty of companies you recognize from your local market. And 70% of the profits are reinvested, and that also tells something about the expected return rates. We can take the next one. And this is also a couple of snapshot data. 700 companies present in Swedish, because now I'm going to focus on the Swedish investors. 700 Swedish companies which are active in Poland. The value of their investments is about 5.5 billion euros. Over 100,000 people employed there. The Swedes are even more stable. They reinvest 93% of generated profits, which is much higher compared with other foreign direct investments in Poland. What do we have more? Yes, if we look into some historical data, last 20 years, the growth in trade turnover is almost by 400%, so it shows something. We can take the next slide, please. And this is about in which segments, in which sectors Polish companies are active there. Of course, the biggest one is production. Then you have the trade. The names which I would like to mention there, you have IKEA retail, H&M, other Swedish retailers like Kappahl, Jula. There is a large wholesale sector as well, employing more than 4,300 people, which is connected to the industrial manufacturing as well, and distribution. And there you have ASSA ABLOY, Oriflame, Sandvik, Atlas Copco. Volvo, Tetra Pak, etc. I'm just mentioning some of the names. An interesting and growing sector is services. There you have, for example, Medicover with a huge investment in the health sector with over 22,000 people. You have Ericsson with the telecommunication solutions employing over 2,000 people in the country. A very interesting one, which I think interesting for you as well, considering the answers you've been giving in the Menti, the business support service sector. Concentrated on the BPOs and shared service centers, and this is increasingly significant part of the Polish economy, growing not only when it comes to Scandinavian investors. Among these investors, you will find financial institutions like SEB or Nordea, who will be just showing their case soon, but also other large manufacturing trade or service companies have just placing their global business operations and support in Poland. We can take the next one, please. Which industries Swedish companies are most active in? And this is not a surprise for you either, which is machinery and equipment, employing over 11,000 people. In this sector, you have a very diverse range of production for both household and commercial use. Electrolux is the sector's leading investor, having over 5,000 people employed there. Other investors in this sector, it is SKF, De Laval, Husqvarna, Tetra Pak, etc. Furniture production, not surprising, as Poland is huge, and at the furniture export, the largest investor is IKEA industry, obviously. The third one, automotive sector, as many companies are involved in material processing, handling both metals and plastics. And this industry employs collectively above more than 4,000 people. What is worth mentioning, the companies involved in the production of hygiene and medical products, 2,000 people. You have there, for instance, Getinge or Essity. We can go to the next slide, which is my favorite one, because it shows the geographic spread of the companies you recognize. You can take a look at this later on when you get the presentation, and you see quite a large spread. Most of the Scandinavian companies, by number, they are in. I will not name the names of the voivodeships because it doesn't tell you so much. But around Szczecin in the Pomeranian, you have IKEA, you have Garo, Backer, etc. Another one, which is the second. This is Warsaw area for historical reasons. And you have plenty of Swedish companies there, starting from H&M Logistic, AstraZeneca, Ericsson, Lantmännen, and Stena Recycling, etc. So I will not be going through that because you can read this. You can see that. Well, on this map, it is only selected companies we have mentioned. I have personally have seen quite many of these investments, as I have been working with Scandinavian investors, corporate business over 20 years. I have seen the growth of these companies when financing the investments, and I had the chance to meet the CEOs, discuss challenges, opportunities they have faced in Poland. So these were extremely interesting years, if we look back, resulting in this, in what you can see on the map. And we are also seeing further interest in Poland. If we only, except from the resilience of the economy, which I just mentioned through the COVID, through the start of the Ukrainian war, we also have another factor which is going to fuel Polish economy in the future, which KPMG will be doing a deeper dive in, and this is around 60 billion euro coming from the National Resilience and Recovery Plan for the Polish economy, coming from European Union. We call it KPO. Per capita, the support will be on the level of around 1.6 thousand euro. So just to remind you, Poland is in nominal values, Poland is on the third place when it comes to being a beneficiary of European Union funds. And all of this money will flow to many sectors, among others related to green transformation, competitiveness of the economy, healthcare, etc. We can take the next slide, please. Just a snapshot of the imports and exports increase over the last 20 years. Impressive data, and we hope that this will continue in the future. I know we are short of time, so I just go to the next slide, just showing you what Scandinavian investors and Swedish investors in particular, how the market looks like in their eyes. What do they say? What are the most important features? Why do they invest in Poland? And when they were approaching that, answering these questions, they were mentioning the well-educated population, high culture of work and commitment, the economic growth of Poland, the high investment needs in the areas of energy, digital and military infrastructure, which is coming. You can read the quotes. I'm not going to read them, but for instance, AstraZeneca's words, the CEOs of AstraZeneca's word, that Polish are distinguished by their determination and ability to find out-of-the-box solutions. I would say that this is a result of the history of Poland, not also. My conclusion is that during the communist time, Poles have learned how to look for out-of-the-box solutions if the rules are not really what you could follow. We can take, and this is both positive and negative sometimes. We can take the next slide, please. And this is a
yeah, we have to round
survey.
up soon.
Yes. Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
So I just want to mention that investors ask the question if they would like to invest again in Poland. 98% of them says yes. We take the next one, please. This is just the pages and the QR code to the reports if you are interested to read more. And the last slide, just to round up, these are the contact details to me and to Ewa Lisiewska at the SPCC. You are welcome to ask questions in Swedish and English and Polish, of course, as well. We can see Ewa after as another speaker. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you very much, Marzena, for giving us such an interesting and comprehensive picture of the Swedish-Polish business situation. Once again, always feel that the Chamber of Commerce can be your contact point into the business sector. Amazing that Sweden is the third largest investor in Poland. Those are very exciting figures. We'll be hearing more about that from KPMG later. Of course, any fast-moving economy will be having a mix of traditional industry, services, and of course AI. But we are lucky that the next speaker will not be AI generated, but a real person. I give you now the possibility to hear Ms. Agnieszka Jąsik's story about how Nordea made their successful growth on the Polish market. I will be the clicker if you just tell me when to switch pictures.
Hello. Hello, yes. My name is Agnieszka Jąsik. I'm head of Nordea in Poland. And it is my pleasure today to tell you a little bit about Nordea's journey in the country. So can we start, please, by moving? Yes. So Marzena mentioned just a moment ago the area of shared services center. and this is actually the market on which Nordea is operating in Poland. We used to have a licensed bank in the country between 1999 and 2014. But in the meantime, we started the business services, in-house business services in Poland, and we continue until now with them. We employ almost 6,000 employees in 4 Polish cities, and we deliver all sorts of services to the Nordic Bank. Actually, we are all under one umbrella, and we are all branches, whether they are operating business-wise in the Nordics or they are helping, like our branch in Poland or Estonian branch. So we are all licensed entities. We are supervised by ECB and in Poland by the Polish FSA as well, which guarantees the quality and compliance wherever we operate. And actually, why we decided to build a center in Poland. And I think Marzena was giving the reasons already, but I can mention 3 of them. And these are also the reasons why actually Poland is the second most preferred location for the business operating centers. First is, of course, India. But Poland is the second, which is, I think, a great achievement. So first of all, the location is good. We are within the European Union, and the time zone here is the zone that allows work to be done for not only European investors, but also for Asian or Americans. We can adjust our daytime to their time zones, which is very convenient. As a result, like we have around 2,000 various business centers in Poland, built by 1,600 various companies from around the world. So the location is actually good for such a business, but also the talent pool Marzena mentioned. We have in Poland around 1,300 students, 1,300,000 students at the moment, which is really a good high number comparing, for example, to Romania with only 500,000 students, or Czech Republic with 300,000 students. So the system of higher education is actually very, very good here, and we must say that 1/4 of all our society has a high education degree. And also, what is very significant is that young people speak very good English. Actually, around 55% speaks fluent English, which is also an advantage. And the third, reason, and maybe the most important, is that this is economically efficient to build a shared service center in Poland. The cost of work is lower here. We can compare the average cost of work in hour. Last year, it was around 33 euro in the European Union, whereas in Poland it was 17, the average cost of working hour. So yes, still economically efficient, and culture-wise, actually good environment to build a business here. Can I ask for the next slide, please? I will tell you a little bit about the journey very quickly. We started in 2009 with 60 employees in Poland, in Łódź. And then until now, we experienced a kind of an organic growth. It was not rapid. it was very organic, based on the kind of proved concept to deliver certain services here. And this is actually a journey from very basic services, accounting wise, or basic IT services, until now, when we deliver really mid-office services. And we have a lot of banking specialists here in Poland, especially in Warsaw. We have a good banking center in the capital of Poland, so we can attract talents, and we can actually contribute to Nordea with new ideas and with the completely new perspective. The average age of Polish employees in Nordea is 34. So these are really young people with fresh look at the market and the banking services. But the success of Nordea was based on the assumption that we are not separate entity from the headquarters or other branches. We are actually integrated into the value chain. We work in cross-country teams. We exchange the information really freely. We work on the same projects. We have our managers in different countries. So it's a really matrix structure that help us in Poland to be really integrated within Nordea's business. Okay, next slide, please. So what we do here, as I mentioned, we deliver all sorts of services to the Nordic Bank, mainly operations. So we do all the banking activities from here. We do financial crime prevention services, so AML and so on. We deliver IT services, and we have a huge number of employees working in group functions, which are HR, finance, risk, compliance. So as a result, 40% of the total workforce in Nordea within the functions actually are located in Poland. In fact, 1/5 of the total workforce in Nordea sit in Poland. And also we deliver services to all branches, including, of course, Swedish branch. And I have here the numbers, what proportion of services we deliver to our Swedish colleagues. And this is actually no different than to other Nordic branches, so mainly technology operations, finance, and financial crime prevention. Next slide, please. Yeah, and we are proud actually to implement the Nordic culture to Poland, and the employees really appreciate the culture based on trust, openness, on appropriate balance between work and private life. So now we have the lowest attrition actually ever. We have below 3%. Attrition is a voluntary leave of the employees. So now, you can see they are really, really happy. We have been also recognized as a top employer in Poland by Employers Institute. We have a certification. So it shows that we really, what we do really is something that actually is good for the employees, not only to us. We give employees equal opportunities. So now we are very proud to have almost 50-50 gender balancing of the managers. So half of our managers are women in Poland, and we really have a lot of initiatives supporting equality. We have really here in Poland 61 nationalities working with us. So these are not only Polish employees. The Business Services Center is the center, business services business is the business that actually is international. So people having experience in various business centers around the world, they travel and they actually work from various cities around the world, and that's why we have so many nationalities. They bring a lot of experience and unique perspective. We are engaging our employees in many volunteering activities. Each employee has 16 hours of work free to get engaged in whatever she wants. Employees are really, they are happy to take part in many employee resource groups. We cooperate with universities, with NGOs. So yes, so this is something we can bring into the Polish market, and we are proud to do this.
We have to start wrapping up, Agnieszka.
Yeah. So this is actually the last slide, and this is at the end of my presentation. So whatever I can say more is that it pays off to invest in Poland, and the working culture that we have here is really something that is very, very beneficial to the investor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnieszka. And I think it's fantastic for our companies to have our banks so well established on the Polish market. And it's impressive that you have, if I understand correctly, such a big workforce in Poland. And we understand why due to your presentation. Before we just go into KPMG, I want to remind that you have the menti.com in your hand, maybe. So if you have any questions, just put them along the presentation and we will raise them after KPMG. And so now it's time for presentation, how to enter and do business in the Polish market and on the investments. We have Jakub, we have Marcin, and Kalvik. Yes. So I think the stage is yours.
Thank you very much.
If it's okay.
Yes, sure. Thank you. So thank you. Hello and welcome. My name is Jakub Proszkiewicz, and I'm. Oh, yes. Hello and welcome once again. My name is Jakub Proszkiewicz, and I'm partner associate at KPMG in Poland, dealing with the international companies from all over the world. We will talk today about Poland as a hub for investments. Together with my colleagues Marcin and Arkadiusz in a minute, we will show you how and why to invest in Poland and why it's so extremely important to think about that now, because the time is perfect. During our presentation, we will talk about the key value drivers of Poland. We will touch the information how to enter Poland and why. The bonus session, deep dive into grants and incentives, will be led by Arkadiusz, and he will share with you the insights to the world of grants and incentives in Poland. So let's wrap up. And let's talk about the key value drivers and why Poland. So Nordic companies look to strengthen their operations in Europe. They think about expanding their value chains in the region. And Poland stands as a natural partner here. So there are a couple of points I would like to touch today, actually three. So the first one is the location of Poland. This is the country just behind the Baltic Sea. It's a European Union country with extended network of railways, speedways, highways, and obviously seaports, which allows the Nordic region companies to enter the Polish market, but also CE market through those ports. CE market means 17 countries within the region, which Poland is the biggest one of them. Also, the border with Ukraine allows us to shift the goods through Poland to Ukraine to rebuild this country after the tragic war. The second aspect I want to touch today is the industrial base. So from one hand, we have the the huge part of the economy focusing on production, mainly automotive business. But on the other hand, there are also business cases with IT, R&D services, and what Marzena touched already, also shared service centers, which I will tell you a bit more later on. The third aspect has two angles, but it's related with people. So on one hand, Poland is 38 million inhabitants, which basically mean that you have potential 38 million of customers for your goods and services. But on the other hand, it allows us to have a big base of potential employees. So 1.3 million students already at the Polish universities and 400,000 of IT specialists waiting for employment by, for example, Nordic employers. What are the most common entry routes? So how to enter Poland? Obviously, we can start from scratch. So opening the operation in Poland, having the limited liability company, and starting to build the substance throughout the years. This obviously is linked with the how to open the company, and it depends on what type of size of business you are planning to have. But it may take from few days, few weeks, up to a couple of months, depending on the scale. But remember, the problem with the companies itself is that you need to think about the longer perspective, because if you start with operation in scratch, then obviously it may take time to grow. Another possibility is to open a branch or to open a branch, but from the from the administrative point of view and from management point of view, it may be a bit of big exercise to manage the branch itself. So also companies decide to start the operation from scratch, but move the function, assets and risks from the operations in the Nordic to the Polish company. For example, introduce the Polish company into the value chain by moving, for example, the back office functions for accounting and creating the shared service center. The next and the most common or sometimes picked road is to go through the M&A, which will be then shared by Marcin in more details, but this is sometimes a very common possibility to enter Polish market. And this already has been talked about. So who is already in Poland when it comes to shared service centers? You see in the slide that already Nokia, Electrolux, Nordea, and a couple of other big names are already here in Poland, already investing and already hiring 200,000 people. And I'm not, that would not surprise you, but rotation in the Nordic companies is very limited. And having said that, it means that you are a very good employer and Poles are picking you as an employer. So Marcin, now the M&A.
Thank you. Oh, you already switched that. Good morning again. Marcin Wiśniewski. My role will be to disenchant the M&A process a bit. The Menti showed that in your answers, you showed that not many of you have had experience with the M&A sector. That's okay. I'm going to talk about the basics. I'm going to walk you through it. Like I said, my name is Marcin Wiśniewski. Just a short note on myself and my involvement in the Nordic market. I'm a director at KPMG, predominantly linked to the M&A sector, but together with Jakub, we are the leaders for the Nordic desk at KPMG in Poland. So we work a lot with Swedish, Danish, Norwegian, and Finnish companies. Let's start with a snapshot of the M&A world in Poland. So the key point to convey is that M&A in Poland, mergers and acquisitions, is a very common topic. It's a large piece of the Polish business economy, something that our clients use a lot to enter into Poland. And remember, it's not only absolutely not restricted to the largest players, quite the opposite actually. The M&A market in Poland is currently oriented rather on the mid-sized companies, as I will explain later. Of course, we are living in strange times when it comes to everything, but also the M&A. What I mean by that is that there was a drop in the both value and volume of M&A, and it was a global trend, but it also impacted Poland. This started to settle down. 2023 was rather weak, but worldwide as well. 2024 brought some stability into this and brought hope for 2025 to be much stronger. In terms of numbers, almost 350 deals took place in Poland in 2024. That's the biggest number in the entire CE region. In terms of value, the total value of deals in Poland in 2024 was 5.8 billion euros. Surprisingly, Hungary topped that during 2024 because they had two very large mega deals, we call them. They do sometimes happen, and Poland didn't have any this year, so congratulations, Hungary. But in terms of volume, we outpace every country. Why does it matter? Let's put things into perspective. 350 deals out of 1,200 in the entire CE region, which means that more than one quarter, more than 25% of deals in the CE region is done in Poland. This means that every day there is a deal in Poland, 350, right? The Czech Republic, a very strong market, had one deal every 3 days. Hungary had one deal every 6 days, right? Even Romania had one deal every 2 days. This shows the stability and experience of the market, how important it is. And let's remember that it is highly diversified across all branches, but I will dig into that in a minute. Not this one, this one. This is something I wanted to show you because I think that some of you may be interested in that. Let's divide this by sectors. But what we also did on this slide is that we wanted to show you the trends in Poland, compare that to the trends in the CE region, entire CE region, and I will be constantly mentioning the CE region because on one hand we are very closely linked to the entire CE region, but on the other we're the opportunity for the CE region, like Jakub said and all the speakers before me. We're close to Sweden, we have very good ties and cultural links with Sweden, so the CE matters as well. It's the entry to the entire CE. But what we also did is, and you will see that on that in that table, we wanted to show you how those interact with interests in the Nordic countries. So let's break it down a bit. The ones in bold, or let me put it this way, the far right of the breakdown is showing you how many deals took place in specific sectors. And on the left, you can see those sectors and deals happening in the Nordic countries. So M&A in the Nordics, also broken down by sectors and number of deals. And you will see that the trend is very similar. The most important one generating the most interest is the technology sector, TMT sector, so-called. Manufacturing and industry, consumer and leisure, energy. That's an important part because Poland is undergoing a very deep transformation of the energy sector. And there are a lot of deals happening in that, both large ones as well as small ones. pharma, medical are on this as well. Maybe one word. At the bottom of the page, you can see the trends in the entire CE region. So the sector leaders, again, technology, industrials, energy and utilities, professional services, retail and consumer. So these are common candidates that you can see both in the Nordics and in Poland. Now, 2025. What can we expect in 2025? Of course, this is forecasting, like looking at the current trends. So we need to base on historical data as well as our experience. But there are certain things that should be focused on. First off, we think that, and you will see that across all press regarding M&A, that technology, TMT sector, but also energy will be at the top of the list. Okay, the entire value chain, not just the biggest entities that will be put on sale. Absolutely. Synergies across the sector. You know, it's been only 2 years since the introduction of widely known AI, and you know, the landscape has shifted so much within those 2 years that thinking it wouldn't impact the next year would be absolutely a mistake. So this is what we expect, that the technology will be at the top of the list, and we can already see deal pipelines focused on that. Also defense. Fortunately, unfortunately, defense is on the lists in deal pipelines. And let's remember, for those of you who do not participate in that sector, these are not only manufacturers of large weaponry and stuff like that, it's the entire value chain. And I've already seen deals of minor, I don't know, transportation companies that are within the value chain. So it's a large sector. And linked with that is the unfortunate topic of Ukraine and the Russian aggression on that country. We already see movement. We have a couple of clients who already did that, even though peace is still in the talks, maybe let's call it on the horizon. There are already companies, and even from the Nordic countries, even from Sweden, who have already invested or started their investments in Ukraine or close to Ukraine in Poland to participate in the rebuild of Ukraine. Okay, so I think I can even say we know for a fact that this direction will trigger movement in the M&A world, and since the most experienced players see this as an opportunity, also a moral obligation, that I think it's an opportunity for you as well. I'm thinking, what should I add from the key topics? Maybe this one. There is a part of the M&A market in Poland that arouses movement, and it's been a trend for a couple of years, but we believe that it will remain a trend for maybe 2, 3, or 4 years. Family companies. Poland was started, we started in Poland our transformation to a modern economy in, let's say, 1990, after the fall of Iron Curtain. Plenty of business sprouted then, and now it's 30 years later, and people who created those businesses need to pass those businesses on to the next generation. How does this influence the topic that we're discussing? Because a large part, and we see that, a large part of those sons and daughters don't want to run those businesses anymore. So they're put up for sale. Mid-market businesses who have a genuine access to the market, a genuine market share. But also the other way around. Sometimes fresh energy of the next generation stimulates growth, and they're looking for synergies on the market. So this is happening as well. And still, I think every month I have a deal like that on my desk. And it's, like I said, it's been a trend. But let's remember about one thing, that still the interest rates are high, and still there is certain uncertainty. There is uncertainty in certain sectors, which means that M&A is still a road that one needs to look at closely and carefully, because are there any risks connected? Yes. Well, like I said, the interest rates are high. Things started to settle down, of course, and it looks better, starting to look better than it used to look a couple of years ago during the pandemic period. Still, however, with the risks involved and interest rates being high, inflation may be settling down enough for deals to sprout. Still, the expectations of the buyers are high in terms of the returns they want to get. So this creates often a mismatch between buyers' valuations and sellers' valuations. Okay, the expectations of the sellers are often different and higher than the buyers' valuations. This is settling down a bit, but something that often stops deals from closing. 70–80% of deals, but it's always been a trend like that, do not close. And I think this is one of the key topics that happen, and one should approach it cautiously, not to incur any M&A related costs in directions where there's a danger that the M&A will not close. Of course, it is important to know the entity you're buying, you're approaching. Why is that? Because one of the risks in the M&A world is what are you inheriting, what it is in that company. And this can be managed. And actually, it's not that difficult, but you need to have the input into that. Okay, so you can construct the SPA, the share purchase agreement, in a way that allows you to shift the blame for anything happening, if anything crystallizes in the future, to the seller. But you will not know that without a proper due diligence process. So do not approach, that's the message I would like to convey. Do not approach M&A without a professional due diligence, a financial due diligence, a legal due diligence, and a tax due diligence. This will take care of everything for you. And final point to add regarding this slide is the so-called W&I insurance, warranty and indemnity insurance. What is that? For those who don't know, because like we saw on the Menti answers, a majority of you have not participated in the M&A. This means, insurance means that an insurer will cover the risks identified during the DD, due diligence process, and in case anything crystallizes, the insurer will cover the cost. So W&I insurance has started to play an important role in the M&A world. This is the last slide that I wanted to show you. We've chosen a couple of larger deals. Why? Not to show you that the numbers are high, but to show you that this is the actual trend that we're seeing. So I told you about the sectors, right? The sectors that can be seen on this slide. For instance, technology. We have a company in Poland, a software powerhouse, Komarch, so computer architecture. It's a huge entity, and it was put up for sale last year actually, and the deal closed. Nearly €500 million. But there's movement in other sectors. In energy, we showed you just one deal, but the number of deals, small ones, medium ones, is immense. Like I said, the total value of the M&A market was not that huge, although it was very big compared to other countries. But still, the volume, okay, so the number of deals that took place is huge. And we are seeing the entire market joining into larger entities to be prepared for that. Two things that I want to add, because I don't want to prolong this topic, because the next one is the most important one. But first, remember that M&A is not reserved for the largest players only. It is absolutely not. It allows you to gain access to the market immediately, almost instantaneously. Right? Large part of our clients don't change a thing in the entities they purchase. They leave the entire board, add something, because the Poles know how to work hard. This was said before today. We do. So it is not reserved for the largest players. Also, two things in terms of how this is going to be organized. We will be sharing those slides with you, but there are a couple of additional slides that we didn't want to show you today because the time is limited. So take a look at the other slides that we will share regarding the valuation of companies, what can you expect, what are the problems with it. Take a look at that. And the last thing, from my side, is that, like Jesper said before, we are in Göteborg till tomorrow, the end of the day. If any of you would like to talk regarding your business ideas, we can always grab a coffee or meet online as well, and send me a message regarding that. At the end of the presentation, there are our contact details that you can use. That's it from me. Let's switch to Arkadiusz, unless maybe, okay, let's stop for a while, because I've been talking around for 15 minutes or so, and maybe there are some questions that somebody would like to pose. Who's in charge of the list?
We can go ahead with Arkadiusz. 7 minutes, Arkadiusz. Yeah.
Arkadiusz, no.
Yeah.
Now Arkadiusz, and then the Q&A for this part.
Yes, exactly.
Sure. Will Arkadiusz be in charge of the slides? Apologies for that.
Yes, I will click the slides here. So, okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Arkadiusz, you just go ahead.
Yeah, jump in. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for the invitation. It is a great time to be here. I'm really excited to talk about a little bit more about Polyglade in Poland, especially dividing in a few groups. Just a quick introduction. My name is Arkadiusz Kalwik. I am Senior Tax Manager at KPMG, mostly and broadly dealing with the broadly understood Polyglade. So I am happy to share the few information, few hints, few spotlights in the case of the Polyglade. Just jumping into this slide. This is only general highlights because I would like to go into details about the potential program, potential Polyglade, which is possible to obtain in Poland, into the deep dive session. So I am honestly invite you to this also. However, if we are talking about the highlights, about the grounds, about the Polyglade in Poland, as you may see, the program we would like to focus on is just presenting on this slide. I would divide it into three groups. First of it is connecting with the tax exemption, which is called Polish Investment Zone. So it means that you can get the tax exemption if you invest in Poland, and part of your investment expenditure just can be treated as the eligible expenses and give you a possibility to get the Polyglade in terms of the tax exemption. The second group is not even the Polyglade, it's just the tax reliefs. As you may see in 2 main points, research and development relief, robotization relief, and tax relief for innovation employees. It's just the tax reliefs you can occur in every moment in Poland, if you already invested, if you plan to invest, or you're just expanding your activity in Poland. And it is really nice to have because it is not such, let's say, hard case to implement, bearing in mind the other programs, other subsidies, especially the EU ones, if we are talking about the EU funds. And the third group I would like to bring your attention is just the subsidies, the government grant in Poland and the EU and national subsidies. Mainly, if we are talking about the government grant, it is the way how we can get the money for the investment in Poland in the form of the non-repayable cash grant. So it is really nice to have the additional money for this. And if we are talking about the EU and national subsidies, just the funding from both the European Union budget and of course for the national source in Poland to support various of the project and initiative within the country. So we can jump to the next slide. Yeah, perfect. If we are talking about the support levels, so of course, I just bring you a quick snapshot about the program. So right now, maybe a few words about the support levels. As you may see, of course, UN national funds and national subsidies have the most and the biggest amount of the money you can get, because it is 80%, up to 80%. But please remember, the 80% are reserved for the small and medium enterprises and a very specific program. So mostly in a majority of program, you can get the 15, maybe 16% of the public aid. So if you are multiply your eligible expenses and the percentage, then you have just the amount of the public aid in case of the UN national funds. If you are talking about a Polish investment zone, it is up to 70%. It is connecting to the also eligible expenses, connecting with the your investment. So it is just the buildings, machines, plots, areas, and whatever you really want to put in Poland in this kind of the program. Of course, the highest amount of the percentage is reserved for the small and medium enterprises, which is invest mainly in the east side of the Poland, because there is the public aid is the highest. I elaborate a few more sentences about it in a deep dive session. If we are going about the tax reliefs, this one we presenting on this slide is connecting with the research and development activity. It is counted as the additional deduction from the tax base. So this 38% is just connecting with the tax rate in Poland, which is 19%, and the additional deduction we can get from the tax base. And the last, of course, it is not just up to 25%, because it is possible to be a really tremendous amount of the money, because if we just place the correct location, proper location in Polish market, and we are in a specific regime and we are fulfill the specific requirements, it is still the 20-25% of the whole our investment. So if we just would like to, let's say, build a factory in Poland or establish a really well proper BPO or SSC center, it is still possible to get the 25% of the grant for the investments, like building a factory or to hiring people. So it is still the really nice amount of the money you can get as the company investing in Poland. So we can, I think, jump to the next slide. I would like just to quick look of the how to apply, because it is also maybe an interested part for you. Just the quick steps and from the perspective of the application. We have to remember, if you would like to apply for a public in Poland or for a broadly meaning tax incentives, tax exemption, we have to remember to identify first the necessary investments for the company. So we have to think what we would like to do in the country, what is the purpose of our investments, what the goals we would like to achieve, and after that we may align with the investment with the current or even upcoming subsidy programs of the current one which is already in force. For example, the Polish investment zone and government grant is the continuous program which is not have a, let's say, the window for applying. It is just we can apply, for instance, in a given day, because it is still valid for the investor in Poland. After that, we should review, of course, the program-related documentation to ensure that the support levels meet the expectation, and the investor may, of course, fulfill every requirement indicated in a given program. After that is, of course, the main part to prepare the documentation, the data, and of course the application itself, as well as to submit it to the government body, to the authority responsible for a given program. Given mistakes, I think you have in a slide, so I won't elaborate more about it. It is occur really often in case of these 6 points. So we have to remember that we have to cover this kind of the possibilities and these kinds of the challenges to be, let's say, sure that our application will be, let's say, verify, and the public aid is granted, will be granted. Yeah, we can jump to the next slide. This is the time frame. That time frame we presented to you in this slide is connected with the, let's say, most challenging program, in which we have the few points to cover. We have the documentation, we have the competitive base, project sustainability, control the project, because you have to remember every project in Poland for which the public aid is given have to be controlled, even twice. So it is just a funny fact. But remember that from the perspective of the given program, the time frame may of course differ. Why? Because it's depending on the requirements, depending on the, let's say, hardness of the given program. So from the perspective, or for example, for the Polish Renaissance Zone, it is up to 1-2 months from the preparing documentation to give and to get the public aid. But from the perspective of the EU subsidy, it is possible even to be preparing for 6 months, to apply for the 1-2 months, and just get the answer for the next few months. So it is even a year for the application period. And last slide, which I would like to a little bit more explain about you. We are talk a lot today about the companies invest in Poland, successful invest in Poland, like Nordea. Thanks to you, Agnieszka, for sharing the knowledge and sharing your experience. I would just like to bring your attention to that. This company invest in Poland from the perspective of the Swedish company or other Nordic country, get a public aid. Why? Because they can. It is just simple. Why? Also, what is possibility that we know it? Because this is the public data. The public aid in Poland, as the other countries in Europe, as the public data. So from this perspective, if we just referring to, for example, Electrolux, which is I would say the household appliance industry, get the money in a, let's say, shape of the 20 millions of euro. It is just the money from the for instance, the Polish investment zone, the EU subsidies, and etc. So I would like to bring your attention that this is still possible to get the money, and you do not have to be the biggest, let's say, company in Sweden or in the Nordic countries, as well as because you may see also for example, the paneling, which is not the biggest one, but also get the money from the Polish government, for the Polish government or Polish authority or other government body in Poland. So it is just a quick snapshot about the grants and incentives in Poland. I just bring your attention to the crew part of it. So right now, I think we may just go to the question and answer maybe session, if it's okay for you. So of course, one last sentence from my side. My colleagues stay in Sweden today and tomorrow. So if you would like to elaborate more about the M&A markets and M&A cases, as well as the public aid, feel free to contact us. Right now, we are presenting our contact details. So we encourage you to just give us the opportunity to a little bit more explain to you maybe your individual situation and your individual possibilities. So thank you very much. And if there is any question, I am happy to answer.
Many thanks, Arkadiusz. I think you made up and you wrapped up absolutely perfectly. Yeah. Impressive. So it's been great with the information, great presentations. I think we learned a lot. And just to mention,
let's not forget about the deep dive.
No, exactly.
On that topic.
No, absolutely. And as you see on this slide, you will also have the presentation. You will have the full contact details. And we will round up now about past before the deep dive. Just a couple of questions that has been raised. And first, I think I have Marcena and Agnieszka with us as well, but maybe first to you, Marcin, and that what is the current level of interest from Nordic companies for M&As in Poland, because that's your expertise.
Actually, it's a great question, and I'm happy it's been brought up, because on the one hand, the key players in the M&A world are US, UK, obviously, with their super strong private equity. It's always been like that. But that doesn't mean that the Nordics aren't in the picture, because if you look, for instance, at the data that is available for the entire CE region, you can see that in terms of value, there are Nordic countries in the top 10 investors. So Denmark and Sweden are in the top 10 for value. Denmark was responsible for almost 800 million euros worth of deals. And Sweden, if I remember correctly, the number is 370 million euros.
You're absolutely great with numbers.
They're important. That's
Yes.
the Nordic desk at KPMG.
Yes.
We got to know those numbers. And when it comes to volume, so the number of deals that took place, Sweden and Norway are in the top 10 for the CEE. So that means a lot, right? That Sweden was responsible, if we're talking about numbers, for 38 deals in the CE region, right? So a part of the US and UK, that's a large number, believe me. I think I should stop here.
Perfect.
Because it's a longer story.
And you will be here, you will still be here, so you could have personal meetings with both Marcin and Jakob. But
Absolutely.
also want to mention it was before mentioned by Scandinavian Polish Chamber of Commerce. I think we were really impressed. I'm looking at Martin over there, that Scandinavia is the third biggest investor in Poland. I also like that we put it like Scandinavia, because it's for many that would be like a country, looking at the size of our region. And we have one more question, maybe for Agnieszka, Marcena, I don't know. It's just a comment about the market and about the startup scene, what it looks like, very much in brief, in a minute. If anyone would like to touch on that theme, on startups, maybe what kind of sectors and what it looks like in Poland.
I can add something.
Marcin, you start?
I can add something. I can start this topic because I like this question because it actually links to what I said about M&A not being only for the largest players. So I'm so happy this was posed. The beginning of my answer is yes. Okay, there's a lot of movement in the startup area for small businesses wanting to grow. Technological startups is the key area, absolutely, due to various reasons. But first one for me is that we have a lot of universities and tech schools. So the employee base for IT sector in Poland is, if I remember correctly, 400,000 or so IT specialists, IT professionals. So the other CE countries don't even come any near to that. This transforms into the personal interests of those people. So many startups are being created and they do grow. From my perspective, being an M&A person, I see them after 2-3 years put up for sale on the market because the numbers have skyrocketed. Of course, as with startup sector, there's always uncertainty, but in Poland, what is important for startups, for small companies starting their business, especially when it comes to technology, is the number of tax reliefs you can get. You can pretty much be a tax-free entity if you structure this right. So this matters a lot, right? And the grants and incentives that Arek is talking about, you can get a lot of public money to finance those type of development.
And with respect for the listeners, we're about 1 minute to past, so we have to wrap up there. I just mentioned that Scandinavian Polish Chamber of Commerce, Marcena and the team there, I'm sure that they can inform further on the startup scene and also as a Swedish startup, what potential you would have and what kind of networks there are. So we will round up before the deep dive. We'll get into that. Just very much mentioning that don't forget to contact your local chamber, regional chamber, and also the Swedish chambers abroad regarding market information, business contacts, training courses, etc. And can also just mention that this is an absolutely fantastic network. So just as important as the information mentioned is that you also have the contacts with the Swedish, Scandinavian chambers abroad, their teams and their members. And we listen to their and our members today, Nordea, Handelsbanken and KPMG. So we have a fantastic network to just go on searching for information and being assisted for establishing business, in this case in Poland. Martin, anything else?
I think we should throw ourselves directly into the deep dive now.
Yes, so we will just have a pause, 5 minutes, and then we will start again in a deep dive with Arcadius on grants and incentives, and this will go on until approximately then 11 o'clock. So a presentation of 20-25 minutes and briefly Q&As.
And prepare your questions during those 5 minutes for
Yes.
the grants and incentives, because that's what AREC is here for.
Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. I invite you to participate. Yeah.
yes, so see you again, those interested in the deep dive, in 5 minutes. So here we are again. I think a few of you have stayed along for the deep dive now into grants and incentives. So we have with us then still Arkadiusz Kalvik, and I remind on the Menti. So if you still have it open, or I just give you a few seconds for any questions, check in still on the menti.com. See here if there, yes, now it's on. So you could just put in your question. So like the last 5 minutes, Arkadiusz, we will have potential questions for you. But then we go ahead with the deep dive. Stage is yours again.
Thank you very much, guys. Okay, so the deep dive session, in which I would like elaborate a little bit more about public aid in Poland, especially the program I highlighted before. I mainly focus on the crucial information, so please do not go, because I would not like to give you the details and to boring you. I would like to take your attention and bring your attention to the crucial part of each of the subsidy, each of the program. So I think we may start. So please, next slide. Yeah. First program, which is also I highlighted during the previous session, it is the Polish Investment Zone one. It is the just evolution of the special economic zone in Poland. So it is just the potentiality to get the tax exemption for investment in Poland. In my experience, it is one of the best program which is continuously can be continuously applied for because of the potentiality the money we can get as a public aid. But into the few details. Polish investment zones, just in an overview. The PAZ allows companies of any size, so it is also the small, the medium, the large enterprises, to obtain the tax exemption through CIT, so the corporate income tax, as well as the PIT, the personal income tax, if you would like to also to manage the company in Poland in not a limited liability company, for example. Of course, the public aid is just the regional investments aid, and it is available due to the evolution, as I said, throughout the whole Poland. So the whole Poland is just the investment zone, not as the partially as it was in a special economic zone, which is still in a few countries in the world, and they operate quite well. But in Poland, just the whole country is the special economic zone. What is eligible for it? The eligible is just the investment costs, which is referring to, as I mentioned before, buildings, machines, even intangible assets we can acquire in order to use it in our plant, in our factory in Poland. And it is just the costs, which is multiplied by intensity indicator, which is depending on the location. I just show you the map and bring more attention to it in the next slides. So, of course, the public aid is limited to time because we just get the decision for a 12 maximum to 15 years. So in that kind of the time, we have to end our investments and let's say utilize the public aid. In the next slide, I will show you the example. And what is more, of course, there is a requirements. So basically, the company may apply for that kind of the public aid, that kind of the allowance, if they made the requirements for the investments cost, the minimum investments costs, as well as the qualify indicators, which is corresponding to the let's say locally expanding your activity and bring more for employees for a region. So it is something like that. If we are talking about the minimum qualify eligible expenses to get to the program, it is basically from the 10 to 100 million zlotys. It is depending on the unemployment level in a given region and other factors, and of course depending on the size of the enterprise. So maybe we jump to the next slide, and I will show the example because this is the most crucial part, I think. If we just take into the few details about the how much money we can get. As we presented on the slide, if we are just a large enterprise and we would like to incur the 15 million euro in Poland into the investments, for example, to build a factory, as I said, or to expand our activity. So it is still possible to get the money for not only building the new factory, so which is called the greenfield investment, but also to the other ones like expanding your capacity, like diversity of your production, or changing it in a whole way. It is still possible to get this money. So if we would like to invest 15 million euro in one of the voivodeship in Poland, which is called the Silesian, in the south part of the Poland, the intensity of the public aid, according to the map, is 40%, the CIT tax rate is 90%. So if we just multiply this kind of the figures, it is equal right now to 20 millions of the public aid, of the tax exemption. So what this means, the 20 million euro is just tax you do not obliged to pay to the tax authority in Poland. So this is the public aid you get. Multiply your expenditure by the public aid intensity, by the intensity of the aid, and you get just the amount of the tax exemption. Simple, right? If you just, as in our example, if you are going to be, of course, on a good position on your profit and loss account, and you earn money, and your tax base is, for example, like in our just a simple example, 10 million euro, then still you are just normally, if you are not using the Polish investment zone program, to pay 1.9 million euro of the tax. But if you are utilizing the public aid, you are not obliged to. So it means by the 10 years, you pay no CIT tax in Poland because of the 20 million euros of the limitation of your public aid. Quite nice, right? So it is, as I said, it is one of the best programs already be enforced in Poland. Why? Okay, you may say to us, okay, but it's not the cash grant, it is not the money. I do not get any money for the investments. Yes, of course. But you have to remember that right now, from the Polish perspective, as I think in a whole CE regional and other region in Europe, the money in the EU subsidy, of course, I will talk about the EU subsidy and the national subsidy more in this deep dive session. It's really hard to get for just the investments. We have to fulfill other obligations, other requirements, corresponding to mainly to, for example, the electricity, for example, the environmental way. So it is not just the money for the investment. There is so small pool of the amount of the money, which is just giving the investor only for the expanding their activity to build a factory. But this kind of the public aid, as I described to you, corresponding to the tax exemption in the Polish investment zone program, is just one of it. Please jump to the next slide. I would like to take an opportunity to show you of course, the Poland map, as you may know. In it, we just put the percentages of the amount of the support you can get from the perspective of the location and investments. So basically, if you would like to, for example, invest in the south of Poland, so for example, Śląskie Voivodeship, Małopolskie Voivodeship, as you may see in the slide, it is still, if you're a large company, so you're mostly from this particular program, hire more than 250 people, because you are then treated as a large company, you may get the 40% in a Śląskie Voivodeship or 50% even in the Małopolskie Voivodeship amount of the public aid, bearing in mind your eligible expenses. So you're just the investment. So it means, as I talk a little bit more about the example, about the multiplication, if you would like to invest, for example, in Śląskie Voivodeship, 100 million on 50 million euro, then 40% of it will be your public aid, will be your tax exemption. So the crucial part, you may decide to put your investment in every region of Poland except the Warsaw, so the capital city, because as you may see, Warsaw is just in the Mazowieckie, so in the central of the Poland. It means that you cannot get the regional public aid because the Warsaw is too much developed from the perspective of the EU. So it was, as the only city in Poland, excluded from this kind of the tax exemption. But if we are referring to other region, as you may see in a slide, you still can get the public aids, you still can get the tax exemption for your investments. We can jump to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. And this is the second group I told you before. So the tax relief. Still very nice to introduce into the company. We often help the as well as Scandinavian company as other ones in Poland to just implementing it. Especially, I think Jesper, you said one of the participants, and I don't know if he or she is still with us, but it's from the IT sector. Would like to, and I'm delighted to say that this kind of the relief is just for them, not only but just for them, because the IT sector, the let's say well development sector, for example BPO, SSC, or other let's say centers in which some kind of the activity are carrying on, it is just created for this kind of the relief, or in the opposite side, the relief is just created for them. But not all of course, not only limited to this kind of the enterprise. Because quick snapshot about the research and development relief. This relief allows business to deduct eligible costs from their tax base additionally. So mainly, as it's I think similar in Scandinavian, let's say tax system, as well as in Poland, we have the tax profit, we have tax deductible costs, and then we have just the tax base. From which we just counting and the tax we have to pay from the perspective of the income tax. So basically, this kind of the relief, the research and development relief in Poland, are corresponding to the additional deduction. So most costs, from example, the material costs, the tax depreciation costs, the services acquiring from the company in Poland, give you the opportunity from the perspective of this relief to additional 100% of the deduction. While the most important is just the employment costs, because the additional deduction cost from the perspective of the employment have a 200%. So it means you have just the tax deductible costs and 200% more, just only bearing in mind we are conducting the research and development activity. Of course, the research and development center, as we presented in the slide, have the 200% of every of the qualify or eligible costs. However, from Polish perspective, it's only 25, maybe 13 of that kind of the research and development center. So it is not quite easy to acquire that status. So we are just focusing on 200% of the employment and 100% of the other costs, like I said, materials, tax depreciation, etc. What is more, in case of the research and development relief, we have to remember that this is not only for the, let's say, laboratories activity. It is not for, inventing the new vaccine, or I don't know, to build a rocket or something like that. It's just a simple activity the company conduct in Poland, and especially introduce new let's say, solutions, not only innovated from the perspective of the country or the Europe or world, it is just innovated for them. So it is crucial to understand that it is not limited only for the well-established the research and development center when they're working only engineers, technologies, etc. It is just also for the companies which is implementing some kind of the new solution only for them. So it is not needed to be as a potentially in the EU funds to be so much innovation. What is more? What is the benefits? Of course, the benefits is just simple. Benefit is from lower income tax on the innovation activities, because we have to remember that if we have the research and development activity, so we are just conducting some work to, let's say, manage our production process on, we just would like to introduce maybe new product or well-established new product or just something like the, let's say, change product in a few ways. And we are hiring people, incur costs for this, then probably we may think about the research and development activity, and we may get the additional deduction. What is more, it's not needed to apply for it. It is just our purpose. It is our decision. So if we just have the strong arguments and preparing the tax return in Poland in the March of a given year, then we just may decide to just jump into that and deduct from the perspective of the tax base. So we can go to another slide. Thank you. Quick fun facts. Did you know that from the Polish perspective, and in 2023, from the data from the Ministry of Finance from the 2023, more than 2 billion euros eligible expenses are deducted from the tax base as the whole. It is tremendous amount of the money. It is just because the company introduced that kind of the relief. It is 6.5% more companies introducing it in 2023 than 2022. It is 3,015, more than 3,050 companies, CIT tax, CIT, so corporate income tax and personal income tax taxpayers, which benefit from the R&D relief in Poland in 2023. So it is really big amount, really big figures, but it is still not enough, because we are still, even if I conducting a workshop in Poland, still there is a plenty of the companies didn't know nothing about this kind of relief. So I would like to bring your attention also to this, because still, if you are just already operated in Poland and you conducting an activity which can be treated as the research and development, because you develop your project and expanded your activity, it is still possible to apply for. We can jump to the next slide. Perfect. And this is another one. What we think about the research and development activity. This is the relief for the innovation employees. What it means? It is something like the tricky, because if you are just a company hiring innovation employees, it may be for you that the relief is going to these employees. Not exactly. Why? Because if you are a company benefiting from the research and development relief, so you already introduced the relief I mentioned before, but you cannot deduct all the value of the eligible expenses. For example, you have a, finger crossed not, but if so, the tax loss in a given year, so you have no tax to pay, so you do not have any opportunity to any deduction from the R&D relief, or you have so much costs from the research and development eligible costs from the perspective of the employment costs or materials, etc., as I said, then still you have the base, which cannot be deducted from your CIT. So what the Polish government said to us, okay, so we may introduce some kind of the mechanism which allow you to deduct also this kind of the base, which you still have, from the other tax. And from this perspective, if you are hiring people with which activities concerning at least for the 50% of the R&D activities, so the research and development, then you may not be obliged to pay their PIT tax. So the PIT advance you have to take from them, from their salaries to the tax authority in Poland, but you can, of course, deduct them from their salaries, but you can keep for yourself as the tax relief. So if we do not can utilize all the research and development costs from the research and development tax relief, we may utilize it in a PIT of our employees, our innovation employees. We can, in that way, we can maximize the public aid. And even so, you told me, okay, I have to invest, I have to build factory, I have to, let's say, conduct some activities, and probably in the first years I have the loss. Okay, but if you are hiring people, which can be called innovation employees, which is mainly deal with the research and development activity, as I said, it is not just the laboratory ones, you may benefit from the second, let's say, relief in Poland, which is called tax relief for the innovation employees. And this is the quick example. If we have the unclaimed R&D relief, for example, 218,000 euro, total R&D relief is 80,000 euro. If we multiply by 19%, we have 91,000. So we may deduct it from our R&D tax relief based, bearing in mind this deduction is concerning the PIT for our innovation employees. So it is really nice to have it, really nice to introduce it, because of the potentiality, because to maximize benefit, because still it is still possible to do so. And one more thing I would like to add, as well as research and development relief, as well as research tax relief for the innovation employees, is not treated in Poland as the public aid. What it means? So it means that it is not with the, let's say, bucket in which we have been very, very interesting in put everything in a correct order, to have an audit, to have the control, to, as I said in a previous session, more about the holding the documentation, preparing for application, etc. It is not treated as a public aid, so because it is for everyone. So it means that it's not so hard to obtain it and not so hard to maintain it, because you have still to remember that the public aid is really nice to have, but you still have to remember about the maintenance, about the money you get, and and the program you applied for. I think we can jump to the next slide. Thank you very much. This is third relief I would like to explain to you because of this. Because of the robotization relief, it is one of the relief. It is really, let's say, broadly using in Polish companies in Poland, utilizing that kind of the support. What is the robotization relief? It is still corresponding to the same mechanism as the R&D relief. So what this means? It means that we still have the additional deduction from our tax base, right? So this relief is designed mainly to increase the productivity and, of course, the competitiveness in both domestic and international markets, but encourage the use of the industrial robot and automatization itself in a production-based, right? So this is the main purpose of this relief. What is eligible? Of course, the company that utilize industrial robots or automatization, some kind of automatization process in a production, are of course eligible for this relief. So what this means, if you would like to acquire the robots in Poland or just some kind of the automatization process we would like to introduce, then the costs, which is referring to that amount of the money we have to incur to buy it, can be treated as eligible. And what the deduction looks like? Deduction is 50% of the tax deductible costs associated with the robotization and automatization process, which is deducted as similar into the research and development activity from a tax base. What this means? We have to right now, as it's presented on the slide, 150% of the costs. So it means we paid only, for example, for I don't know, €1,000,000 for the robot, but from the perspective of our relief, we have 1.5 million of the tax exemption because we have the cost of the robots and we have the additional deduction. So it is really nice to have also, and we have to remember it's limited in time because Polish government introduced it on the particular period from 2022 to 2026. So we have limited time to utilize this tax relief. So we have to remember about it because it is still possible to use it and to benefit it from, but only at the end of 2026. Of course, apart the robots, we may, of course, treat it as the eligible expenses, either intangible asset necessary for the operation of the robot, trainings related to use the industrial robots, and other, let's say, machinery connecting with that kind of the activity. So this is also the tax relief. So this is calculated from tax base. So jump to another slide, and we are talking right now about the government grants, so the cash grants. I think you're also interested with. Quick snapshot about the government grant is just the Polish established program in Poland by the government, which support and have to support investments that have significant importance to the Polish economy. This initiative aims to, as I said, enhance innovation and, of course, competitiveness in Poland from the perspective of time, and offer funding to investors of all sizes. So also, as the Polish investment zone, the micro, small, medium, and the large enterprises throughout this country. So it is still as the Polish investment zone program, it can be obtained whatever you will want to invest from this perspective. So what is more? If we were talking about the government grant, the application is quite similar to the Polish investment zone. So often we are just asked if we can combine this two kind of the solution. So the government grant and the Polish investment zone, and the answer is yes. You can combine these two kind of the program. So basically, you may utilize public aid, being just the tax exemption together with government grant. So it is really nice to combine it, and it is still possible to do so. So it is great to think about it and to utilize maximum amount of the public aid from this perspective. Types of investments similar to the Polish investment zone. It's just the established new plant in Poland or new factory on just a new enterprise. Diversity of the enterprise production, of course, fundamental change regarding the production process, and what has happened really often, increasing the production capacity of the existing enterprise. So I think it is great to also let's set that the support is provided through a grant based on a bilateral agreement between you as the company in the Polish ministry responsible for economy affairs. And the terms of the agreement dictate that the subsidy is paid proportionally, mainly proportionally to the fulfillment of specific obligations. So most of it is just the milestones corresponding to the your process of the investments, and the money is paid by the ending of the some kind of the stage of the investments, and which is agreed in the bilateral agreement. So we can jump to the next slide, because I would like to bring your attention also to the amount of the money you can get. Firstly, as I said about it, I think in a previous session even, this is the continuous call. So it means that we may apply for it, for the government grant as well as for the Polish investment zone, in whenever you want, because it is just the continuous call. But we have to remember that we have some requirements, and the requirements are significantly bigger than in case of the Polish investment zone. Because if we are just the strategic investment, so we are just placing the factory in Poland, which is not be connected with any innovation, it's just the production line. So we have to think if we may to meet the requirements from a strategic investment purpose. Because as you may see in a slide, the minimum investment expenditure for a strategic investments for a large enterprise is 160,000 million zlotys. So this is more or less 40 million euro. So this is really big money from the perspective of the world companies. So it means that only as Polish government said, strategic investments can get the money from this kind of the program. So if you are just a large enterprise who would like to apply for a strategic investment in Poland, can get the maximum 15% of the cash grant from that kind of the eligible expenses. So if our investments is, for example, 200 million zlotys, so it is more or less 50 million euro, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less than 50 million, but it is really nice to be an example. And multiply by 15%, it is 7.5 million euro of the cash grants paid throughout our investment process. So it's really nice to have that kind of the money. And what is more, if we are just the growing enterprise, so from the purpose of this program, the growing enterprise is interpreted as an enterprise which is hiring less than 1,000 people, enterprise, so it means world group. So we are belonging to the multinational group, which is seated in a, let's say in a Sweden. We have to counting world group as a world from the perspective of the public aid. So if we are the growing enterprise, we have a further, let's say, decreasing of the minimum investment expenditure, because it is going down under the less than 50 million zlotys, so it is less than, let's say, 12 million euro. So it is still possible to apply for a given enterprise. What is more, as I said, it is possible to combine this kind of the government grant and the Polish investment zone. Because of that, this is quite similar, and they take place for the investments. But the combination of these two kinds of the program can be done if our investment is more than 300 million zlotys. But it is not a case, because it is still possible to combine the government grants and the Polish investment zone, even if the investment is lower than 300 million zlotys, when we limited the grant to the 3 million zlotys. So it is 750,000 of euro. So it is still possible to combine two kind of the investments, grants and incentives, like Polish investment zone and government grant. It is still possible, even if our investment is below the threshold. Okay, we can jump to the last slide, I think, which is corresponding to the EU subsidy and national subsidy. I would like to bring your attention, because it is still, let's say, waiting for the windows, because all the EU funds, EU subsidies and Polish national subsidies, which are granted to the enterprise, have a limited, very limited period of time for which can be applied for. So basically, we have to, let's say, be on the proper time with the proper investments and proper activity you would like to do so in a given region and given, let's say, opportunity. So we have to remember that EU funds and national subsidies are limited in also time and structure. What I would like to bring your attention is to 3 points of the crucial, let's say, part of the EU funds and national funds, which are right now possible to obtain in Poland. Maybe not now, but in let's say next few quarters, definitely in 2025. The renewable energy sources. So the grant supports installation for electricity, heat generation, alternative fuel from the renewable energy sources, as well as the energy storage and the grid connection. It means that that kind of the investments, if you would like to take place in Poland, can be partially financed from the EU funds or the national funds. The second part is the circular economy, also very broadly push oriented is in the EU as well as in Poland. So the circular economy, we just focusing on developing the waste management system, reducing resources intensity throughout the product's life cycle, increasing the recycling level, etc., etc. So that kind of the investment can be, let's say, treated as the potentially qualify for the next programs occur in Poland and in respective of the circular economy. As Ada said in the previous session, it is possible to obtain as well as the cash grant as well as the loans for that kind of the investments, we would like to take on and carry on in Poland. And last part is this hydrogen economy, which is still the significant value in the EU and in Poland when we are calling the supporting the implementation of the hydrogen technology in the power and heating industries, use the hydrogen as an alternative fuel in transportation, industry decarbonization and production of hydrogen in the new installation. So this is the kind of the investments also can be treated as the eligible from the some kind of the programs which should take place in a next few months. So that's all. If we are referring for public aid in Poland, I am really thankful for the opportunity that I have and can talk to you broadly about it. So thank you very much for your time, for that you being here. And I'm here to answering your question if you have any, because you may have, as always. If not yet, just describe a little bit factual stand. You of course send to us, and we can discuss it further individually if you would like so. But right now, I am encourage you to ask me or my colleagues, because they are still here, any question you have.
Thank you very much, Arkadiusz, for this deep dive indeed, an intense go through of all the economical incentives, programs and processes that a Swedish company can apply for when setting up shop in Poland. I know we have companies in, for example, water management sector and in robotization sector out there listening. I'm sure they have been very interested to see these slides. Once again, the contact point is here online with the Q&A, and once again we remind you that you may also be in touch with our friends at KPMG online, offline and in person, as they are some of them are here in Sweden already. We have actually one question, and it's given the bewildering perhaps, or at least the wide palette of services and programs available, if you look at all the instruments that have been presented by you, which from your viewpoint would be the best starting point, the best one to implement for a Swedish company? Which one has the least threshold or the lowest hanging fruit, as we say in Swedish?
Thank you very much for this question. It is very interesting, and it is very, let's say, wider from the perspective and broader for the perspective of the answer, potential answer. However, I think from my experience, my practice, the best way to get the money and to get the public aid in Poland for the new planet investments in our region, I think is a combining of the government grants I said a little bit before with the Polish reference zone. It is quite easy to meet the requirements. We do not have the window only for apply for the kind of the, let's say, public aid, as I said, in case of the EU funds, and can give you really big amount of the public aid for your investments, because we combine the tax exemption with the cash grant for your investment process. So I think from my experience, for my practice, I would say that combining these two kind of the grants and incentives program, which have the continuous call, so we can apply whenever we want, is the best way to start with the public aid in Poland.
Thank you for that quick answer. Again, if we look at it from an SME or startup perspective, would your answer be the same then?
Exactly. It would be exactly the same. However, if we have a specific, let's say, maybe sector, so for example, the IT or as you said, waste management. And if we point the proper time to place the investment in Poland, and there will be certainly the program from the EU funds, then my answer will be another, because I would say then, guys, let's focus on this kind of the program, prepare the application, because the amount of the money you can get from these EU funds will be significantly higher, and it is just the cash. So it's still better opportunity to get the money, of course, in a Polish investment zone and the cash grants from the government grant. However, if you have the opportunity to apply for the public aid in EU funds, for example, as the waste management and circular economy, as I said it before, it may be better for the given company. So maybe my answer in that kind of the, let's say, question will be, as tax advisor, the consultants love said, it depends. So basically, if we have a particular company who would like to invest in Poland, and for example, is concentrating on the very specific sector or very specific action they would like to take and to carry on in Poland, that it is possible, and it is even better to apply for EU funds, because it may be, let's say, higher public aid to get, so higher money for the investments, and let's say better to utilize it in that way than in the, for example, for tax exemption, if we, for example, do not manage to have any of the tax in a, for example, I don't know, 3-5 years. So it is still better to get the cash grant. So something like this, yeah.
I'm getting some ideas already. I see a lot of money is being allocated for the southern parts of Poland, which is also a lot of hopper growing takes place there. I think we will have to remind some of the beer companies in Sweden that it's time to look into investment. Okay, thank you very much.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Again, we are reminding you of the contact details. Our specialists are available to you to speak to. With this, we would like to thank everybody participating today, our expert speakers from all the different organizations and all the participants who have been with us so far in the deep dive. This now concludes Trade Talks Poland for today. Thank you everyone for participating. Look forward to seeing you in the future, the next Trade Talk UK this spring. Thank you everybody.
Thank you very much. Have a great time, and thank you for being here. Yeah.